Deer River is a small, beautiful, rural community in northern Minnesota of about 900 people, and it has a strong sense of family, but it's not without its challenges.
This one case that comes to mind, a young man, teenage drinking night out, rolled his car, killed his very best friend. This isn't just statistics. It isn't just alarming stats of a concern, but to experience and to enter into the emotions, the lives touched, impacted forever by choices made at really pivotal points in their life. The thing that excites me most about the Positive Community Norms framework and about this model and about this lens is that it doesn't admire the problem. It honors the concern. It honors that the problem exists, certainly, but it doesn't just admire it. Rather, it was this framework, this model that allowed us and allowed our community and allowed our kids to identify what their strengths are, what their positives are, that the community could begin to heal itself.
As a coalition last fall, we really felt into a place of stagnation, and we had kind of lost some of the passion for our work. And so we sat down together and really talked about where we were at as a coalition and where we wanted to go. And we went through the process. You know, we looked at our spirit and our science and our action, and this return process was so important to us in building and reigniting our passion for the work. And as a result, we were able to come together as a team and as a coalition and move forward in the work because we know it's very important for our community.
The Deer River journey is not dissimilar to what we see in other communities. We start with such enthusiasm and optimism, but before long, the weight of the challenge sets in. The challenge of thinking about truly changing norms with students across an entire school district, changing the way we think and that we speak in order to reduce underage drinking and drug use. What's beautiful about Deer River is they looked to themselves and had one of those critical moments where they realized the solutions are already here in this community, in the teachers, in the students, in the parents, and in the fabric of the entire community itself.
My husband and I grew up in this community, and alcohol was a factor in our lives. And what we are seeing now is a major culture shift around alcohol. And we are hopeful for the future by using positive community norms and the hard work of our STEP coalition, standing together, embracing prevention, that we are seeing a major culture shift around alcohol.
My involvement with the coalition started when we first got our grant here. And after reviewing some of the goals and objectives of the grant, I thought that was a really good fit, and I still do today. I think it's one of the best things that we've done at the school as far as developing a rapport with the students. If you develop that relationship using your positive community norms, it would cement that relationship with the kids.
For me, growing up in this community and working with students for a long time, the perception that I heard was that kids were not making good choices and that kids were, engaging in a lot of behaviors that people didn't want to see them engaging in. And as a kid here, and then as someone who worked with kids, that's not the reality. That wasn't the reality that I was experiencing. Most kids were making good choices. Positive community norms really gave this community a framework to do that, to see that kids were making good choices, and to help change that perception, and to help close the gap between the reality and the perception that kids weren't making good choices.
So when we started this work 5 years ago, our data suggested that 73% of the kids were choosing not to drink in a typical month. And that left 27% of the kids that were choosing to drink in a typical month. After 5 years of work, we now have 87% of the kids are choosing not to drink. And that is half the kids that were possibly drinking are not drinking anymore. So I feel the work we've done over the past 5 years has really set the stage for the kids in our community to be able to make healthier choices in life.
My kids have been part of the program since it started. I have a senior now and a ninth grader. And so I got to see this start. I got to see it solidify with them. And I've had comments and conversations with them over time. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? And I'll never forget talking to my son, who's a senior, and I said, Tyler, how's it going? He said, Dad, it's making a difference. I said, well, how do you know? He said, the conversations that I'm hearing are different. The opportunities that we have for doing things positive are better. And my friends are saying different things, or not talking about the parties, or not talking about using. And so his own experience as a kid who is experiencing high school has been different. And I think that the work that we've been doing has been one of the vehicles for helping us create hope for them, to help them be healthy, to help them make good choices, to put them on a path for success academically, socially, and emotionally.
We're always asked, how has positive community norms been effective in our community and with our students in our high school? And that's an easy question for me to understand by just using the data. And we can look at the data and we can see that we have cut underage drinking in half in our community in 4 years. And to me, to be able to share that out with our community and for them to wrap around that and support that. And prior to having positive community norms, we didn't have that number. You know, we would talk about underage drinking and we would share anecdotal stories because our community could wrap around that. But there was always this sort of voice out there that wanted more. That, you know, that voice that wanted the tangible numbers. And we didn't have that prior to positive community norms. And when we got that tool, that allowed us to be able to go out to our community and share that and say, okay, here's the spirit part of the work. You know, this is why we're so passionate about what we do, and share those stories. And then we added data to that. I can't see doing prevention any other way. And prior to this, it wasn't as effective. This is effective for us in our community.
It's been particularly gratifying working with the leaders of the Deer River community. I remember 5 years ago when we all started this journey and we were gathered together in a room, and there was a lot of frustration and feelings of being overwhelmed. And the steps they've taken and the results they've achieved are amazing.